let's face it, we can all be assholes. No one's perfect. We can all be jerks sometimes. We might be looking out for our own interests at the expense of someone else's. We might say or do something that hurts people. We might have hurt someone through carelessness. Even when we think we're kind of justified, we might feel guilty. I don't think in terms of good people and bad people. We're more complicated than that. All of us make choices and say things and do things that make us the asshole sometimes. And there are many reasons behind our behavior. My philosophy is pretty much that we should minimize being an asshole. Do you agree? Well, let's find out. I'm Chris, and this is what had to be said. Instead of sponsors, today I'm hawking the It Had to Be Said DVD special, full of hours of bloopers, outtakes, and hilarious unseen material. Actually, it's mostly just me swearing and breaking my mouse out of frustration. So, you know what? Don't bother getting it. Besides, DVD? Am I right? Anyway, I've talked to people from all over the world. I've studied a fair bit of philosophy along with history, politics, and whatnot. It took me 20 years of listening, reading, and thinking, and I think I can boil down my philosophy to don't be a dick. That's it. I know it seems simplistic, right? How do you feed billions of people with not being a dick? How does not being a dick make the trains run on time? Well, it doesn't. And that's not usually the function of philosophy. It just means we face consequences when we hurt others. Adopting such a principle on a personal level might require people to reflect. I've heard countless people justify their behavior or beliefs on someone else's terms. Experts say this, so that's what I think. Okay, well, what if they said the opposite? You would just accept that too? Where do your own thoughts, your conscience, come into play? An example of this thinking is to argue drugs should be decriminalized because it would increase tax revenue. No. They should be decriminalized because only then can we employ compassion and care and treat the drug problem as one of public health. Caging drug users does not help anyone except the assholes making money off the prison system. Or look at how people appeal to traditional values, never defined or placed in historical context, just invoked to pass laws. Well, who cares what you claim the tradition is? Does it require you to be a dick? If so, your tradition should not be the basis of law and can be discarded. Should being a dick be defined and codified and set in stone? Not really. You call someone a dick or an asshole when they do something that makes them an asshole. And every language has words to call people who do things you resent. If we tried to define being a dick, it would inevitably leave some people's grievances out. If you accuse someone of being an asshole, it's because you found them to be an asshole, not because some piece of paper said this was an acceptable situation to apply the word. What if you strongly object to what someone's doing, but it's not on the approved list of things that make a person an asshole? I don't think such a list should exist. I think we should just stop people from being assholes, whatever kind of assholeian behavior they're up to. It's not a complicated philosophy. In fact, it's basic respect and the basis of the so-called golden rule. Treating people the way they want to be treated means considering their wants and needs, putting yourself in their shoes. And of course you might do that already, at least with people you know. I'm not the only person with this philosophy. Once you internalize things like respect and compassion, your conscience can guide you. Let's try a couple of thought experiments and you can see if you agree with me. I come up to you in the street and just punch you in the face for no apparent reason. Am I the asshole? Well, yeah. What if you hit me back? Are you the asshole now? No. Because you're really just defending yourself, probably. Or even if it was unnecessary because, like, you're this huge person or something, some people would still forgive you for reflexively taking revenge. But not all questions are so cut and dry, and various issues will inevitably divide people on questions like, was it dickery? Who started the dickery? Who's more or less to blame? And who's going to clean up the mess left by the dicks? If someone steals from you, you'll probably resent it. What if that person was your friend? Might hurt that much more. But what if you don't know them? And they're poor, and you're rich? You might well resent it all the same, because you're the victim of this particular dickery, but not everyone else will see it that way. What if there was a jury? Again, not in a court of law having to follow the words written down by someone else, but a jury guided by the simple principle, don't be a dick, by their interpretation of what that means. Would the jury find the impoverished thief guilty or innocent of being a dick? I would think innocent. Or if not, presumably the punishment would be milder than several years without freedom. And they might start asking the rich person what they did to get rich. Now, I know what lots of you are saying, but Chris, I'm a conservative. Compassion? Respect? Don't worry, you can learn these things too. You can listen to people and put yourself in their shoes. They might be the shoes of people you insist don't face racism because racism is over. The people you insist are just lazy because poverty is a choice. The people you call sinners because they want an abortion. The people you insist will be fine if no one wears a mask around them, even though they could die of COVID. You can make friends with people outside your normal circles and listen to them. You can go to different places and learn from new people. You can meditate. You could read more fiction. Or you could just bear in mind that life is pretty hard for most people and we're doing our best. Our whole society should teach and ultimately be based on compassion, freedom, and justice. If you're new to this channel, you might think of Don't Be a Dick as purely regarding interpersonal relations. But this channel always goes beyond your friends and family into the social, the cultural, and the systemic. Since we're all capable of being assholes, we all share the responsibility of addressing and preventing asshole behavior, including, obviously, our own. Not being a dick requires you to use your conscience. Rules and norms could be based on conscience, as some of them already are. Under the current system, conscience is a luxury. Rules, or as we call them, laws, are made by politicians and judges who work for rich people. Being dicks to almost everyone is their full-time job. They package their decisions in terms of the so-called public interest and indeed claim the whole system exists to serve this public interest. But the words are empty rhetoric carefully selected by PR teams to craft an image of the system and appeal to values we're supposed to believe in. A lot of interpersonal asshole behavior is people just doing what they think is right, maybe just getting it wrong or being a little too selfish. But we live under the rule of a system where being an asshole can be highly profitable. Implementing this principle would change just about everything. Let's experiment some more. You're the president or king or whatever. You decide you could successfully and profitably invade and occupy and annex a bunch of territory to the north. Do you do it? Well, would it require you to be a dick? Let's see. Invasion, killing, oppression. I'm going to say yes. Those wars are paid by taxes, so refusing to pay taxes would be a legitimate anti-dick act. Moreover, the people in the North will for sure think you're a dick, so if they try to stop you, if they resist, they're just stomping assholeness. What if they resist by killing? Well, was that amount of violence necessary to stop the asshole behavior of the invading military? Can it be justified? Yeah, probably. As important as it is to recognize another person's humanity, their situation, their intentions, and so on, if they're threatening to kill you or just take away your freedom, surely you're right to strike first. What's the alternative? Appeal to their consciences? If they were guided by conscience, they wouldn't be invading you. But what if the occupied people resisted by torturing? That's a bit different, isn't it? Is torture necessary to prevent atrocity? Well, some people say it is, but I think it's mostly people who are scared by propaganda or just want more power. I would say there's no justification for torture, and as a deterrent, it's misguided at best. What about something closer to home, the abortion ban? It gets justified by saying abortion is asshole behavior because it kills a fetus. But a fetus isn't even a person yet. What if having a baby will ruin this person's life or even kill them? Too bad, say many of the proposed laws. Not even then. Some evangelical Christians care only about the fetus and not about people who've already been born. And they think it's okay to make laws imposing their beliefs on everybody. Some prohibition against, say, murder would probably be good for a free society, because how can you be free if someone can just murder you anytime? But these laws will kill living, existing people who need safe abortions. They'll lead to millions of unadopted children with shitty lives, some of whom will end up getting trafficked. But the people passing or enforcing these laws don't care about any of that. I think they're being dicks, major dicks, and as such, resistance against them is justified. In fact, crime and punishment need to be completely rethought. Crime is whatever goes against what politicians have written down. Many people who claim not to believe in politicians and political rhetoric and to be guided by conscience still assume the law and its enforcers are legitimate, regardless of how much suffering they cause. It's like saying, I don't trust you or anything you do, but, well, once you've written something down, obviously everyone should comply with it. Alright? Most punishment is based on cruelty and revenge, whatever people tell themselves. It's a way of ignoring the causes of our behavior and simply hurting us for it. That's why right-wingers would have more trouble adjusting to a philosophy like this than anyone else. People are on the right because they want to bully and exclude and punish people. I've made a whole series about them you can watch here. So if they want to join us in Don't Be a Dicktopia, they'll need to work on listening to others, learning compassion, and unlearning hierarchy and authority. Respect, meanwhile, can be the basis of justice, as it already is in many stateless societies. We can start with victimless crimes. At the moment, a large number of people arrested or otherwise victimized by the so-called justice system have not actually hurt anyone else. Consensual drug use, consensual sex, sleeping on a bench in the park, all these things are punished at the moment because the people in power say so. But the behaviors don't hurt others, or at least not without their consent. Their behavior has no victim. The dick behavior is stopping these activities and punishing them, not the activities themselves. In my philosophy, no victim, case dismissed. Speaking of which, let's talk about judges. People in power like judges because they're appointed, because they have complete and unquestioned power over the courtroom, and they get their power from the laws the people who appointed them wrote down. To say that judges give people an objective, fair hearing is demonstrably false and naive. They're people, like the rest of us, with their own prejudices, and being in a position of power means their victims can't hold them accountable. Instead of letting judges who don't know you decide your fate, how about the people who do know you, who know what you did and the extent to which you can change, form a jury of some kind? Or maybe a jury can be randomly selected from among your peers. It takes a reasonably strong community to make such a practice work, but then that's probably true of any solution worth implementing. And of course, there are already many communities around the world that have their own forms of stateless governance that the rest of us can learn from. We're so disconnected from each other, even suspicious of each other, yet we trust police and judges, whose jobs are to be dicks. I would argue, if you advocate any kind of unnecessarily vindictive punishment, you're probably being a dick. If the don't be an assholeian jury finds that you did the bad thing, it probably won't sentence you to many years locked in a cage. Or if it does, it will be because that's the only way they know to stop you. Sure, if you're constantly lashing out without warning or repeatedly hurting others without conscience, you should be constrained. Maybe there's a drug that could help you adjust. I don't know. But most people who hurt each other feel guilty and want to do something to make up for it. Restorative justice gives them that opportunity. If you've never heard of restorative justice, the link is in the description. Among other things, it would probably entail a plan for how the perpetrator can atone for what they've done to the victim, maybe by way of compensation. Once you know about restorative justice, we can proceed to transformative justice, also in the description. These are existing alternatives to the state system of cops and judges and prisons. The state is not interested in justice, compassion, mercy, or community. It's only interested in its own power. Furthermore, if we focus on kindness, or at least not letting people suffer unnecessarily, we can spend our time bringing food to the hungry, or homes for the homeless, or drugs for people in pain. Whatever people need, mutual aid gets it to them. The society would develop the power to nip in the bud any threat to its safety. For instance, let's say someone is abusing their spouse. At the moment, the spouse might want to leave but have nowhere to run away to. A strong community would know the people involved, have people intervene when they think it's necessary, and provide shelter for people fleeing abuse. So it's a useful principle for me and millions of people who already live in it, live in communities that go by it around the world. The trick is to implement it on a wide enough scale that there can be justice for everyone, instead of leaving all interpretation of justice to the justice system. Because it's not enough to be factually or morally correct. Truth and justice need to be fought for. Freedom needs to be wrenched from the hands of the powerful. Fortunately, millions of people realize that and are already working toward a better world. You can join them. So that's my philosophy. Before we go, here are a few of the other videos I was going to make this week.